going, you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Maddison Hill, and yes, we're doing another pop-off with Maddison. Excuse my appearance, you guys. I was not planning on doing a pop-off today, but the second part of Jamie Lynn Spears' Call Her Daddy interview finally came out. I just watched it a little bit ago, so I have put together some thoughts. I did not want to wait to talk to you guys about it. I wanted to talk to you about it immediately, so I'm not going to lie to you. This pop-off is going to be a little bit off the cusp. You know, sometimes it happens when we have some breaking news, but I definitely want to fill you guys in on the big takeaways from the second part of Jamie Lynn's Call Her Daddy interview, and of course, give you my thoughts. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, we have a lot to unpack and a lot to get through, so we're not going to waste any more time and get straight to unwrapping these Jamie Lynn Spears facts. All right, you guys, so in this second part of Jamie Lynn Spears' interview with the Call Her Daddy podcast, this is where she really dove into all of the stuff about Britney Spears and, of course, the conservatorship. Now, you really didn't miss much in part one. Part one was really like a Jamie Lynn Spears redemption interview. That's why it didn't even get a full pop-off. But she did talk a lot about Britney in part two, and like I already mentioned, I'm gonna fill you guys in on the biggest takeaways. So the first big takeaway that I want to discuss is Jamie Lynn Spears' involvement in Britney Spears' 13-year-long conservatorship. Now, as you all already know, up until this interview, we had been told that Jamie Lynn Spears was put in charge of a trust for a little bit that was put in place to take care of Britney Spears' boys should anything happen to her. Now, keep in mind, when Jamie Lynn Spears spoke to Good Morning America a week ago, she never denied that she was put in charge of this trust. In fact, she said that she thought it was a, quote, very normal thing. And if you remember, this is also where she made that really interesting comment where she said, I never took any money from the conservatorship, and if I did, it was a misunderstanding. However, now during this Call Her Daddy interview, Jamie Lynn Spears is dropping the bombshell that she was actually never put in charge of that trust in the first place. Specifically, Jamie Lynn said, quote, my sister asked me to oversee a trust if something were to happen to her. She went on to explain, quote, now when I was approached by her team of lawyers or whatever, and they were like, well, you have to get a lawyer and do that, I did not even follow through with these steps to be a trustee over that will or anything. And that never even had anything to do with the conservatorship. During this interview, Jamie Lynn Spears even showed a legal document that was filed to the court from Britney's team that said that she did not take the necessary steps to be a trustee on the trust for the boys. Now, in a follow-up interview that Jamie Lynn Spears did once again with Alex Cooper on the Call Her Daddy podcast, this interview actually took place on the 18th, so 2 days ago. During this follow-up interview, Jamie Lynn Spears was pressed further about this whole trust and why she never actually took the steps to be a trustee. And during this Zoom interview is when she said that she actually never took the steps to become a trustee because she didn't trust Britney's lawyer at the time, who we all know was Sam Ingram. Again, during this Zoom interview, Jamie Lynn Spears said that she realized her signing on to be a trustee would ultimately involve her in the conservatorship, which she did not want. In fact, Jamie Lynn specifically said, quote, I didn't want to sign anything that connected me to the conservatorship. It was still under the umbrella of the conservatorship, everything was. So basically, you get the picture. We all thought that at one point, Jamie Lynn Spears was a trustee on this trust for Britney's boys. She is now saying after all this time that in fact, she never even took the steps to become a trustee because A, she finally realized that that would involve her in the conservatorship and she didn't trust Britney's lawyer. Now, moving on to another big takeaway, this is what Jamie Lynn Spears says she did to help Britney get out of the conservatorship, because you guys know, we've heard time and time again that she did all of these things. She was always there to support her, but now she finally got into some of the specifics. So first of all, Jamie Lynn Spears claimed that she spoke to Britney's lawyer after Britney shared information with her when they were on a trip together in Hawaii. Jamie Lynn says that her speaking to Sam Ingram, quote, blew up in her face because then everyone turned against her. She went on to say, quote, because I guess maybe that lawyer wasn't going to get a paycheck if he didn't have a job. I spoke with her lawyer and told him a lot of and it went nowhere. Jamie Lynn also claimed that her and her husband tried to get Britney in contact with different judges and that they also found a potential loophole in the conservatorship. Now, this potential loophole, again, Jamie Lynn says that she's not a lawyer and maybe she didn't understand it correctly, but she claims that she told Britney Spears, if you leave the state of California and live somewhere for 6 months, that's you declaring residency in another state. And as far as Jamie Lynn understood, if she declared residency in another state, it would dissolve the conservatorship in California. Jamie Lynn claims that when she heard of this loophole, she shared this information with Britney Spears and she offered for Britney to come to Louisiana, live with her, stay with her, and that way if she did that for 6 months, that could be a way for her to get out of the conservatorship. Jamie Lynn says she gave her this information, but Britney did nothing with it. She didn't do anything, which I would like to point out, how the hell is Britney Spears supposed to get to Louisiana when this girl doesn't really have access to her phone? Yes, she has a phone, but does she really have personal access to it? As we learned earlier this week, an FBI agent did corroborate the fact that yes, they were watching Britney's phone. B, this girl doesn't have any money, doesn't have any access to her debit card, doesn't have access to a car, So while I think, yes, it's so great that Jamie Lynn said, hey, come live with me in Louisiana, how the heck is Britney supposed to get there? Again, it's great to give somebody information, but if you don't give them the resources, is that really helping them? Okay, sorry. This is what happens with off-the-cuff pop-offs. Sometimes I pop off a little too soon. Let's keep going. In the follow-up Zoom interview, Jamie Lynn was pressed even further on the steps she took to try to support Britney Spears, and this is where she brought up a text message. She finally brought out a receipt. She says that she sent this message to Britney Spears, and when she didn't hear back, she then sent the message to Britney's boyfriend. Now, this text message is from November of 2020, and I will say Jamie Lynn did pull it out, and just to remind you all, in November of 2020, this was before Britney Spears was out of the conservatorship. This was before Jamie stepped down. This was before she got new representation. This is kind of when things were really just starting to pick up. Now, in this explosive text message, Jamie Lynn accuses their mom, Lynn Spears, of conspiring with Britney's attorney, of having their own agenda. In this text, Jamie Lynn goes on to say that she feels like their mom, Lynn, is more concerned with taking down their dad, as opposed to what's best for Britney and getting Britney what she needs. Jamie Lynn also hammered down in this text message to Britney that she did not trust Sam Ingram. She reminded her of when they were in Hawaii and they called him and told him all this stuff that was happening in the conservatorship. He did nothing. All he did was call Jamie and say, we need to watch Jamie Lynn because I think she's trying to bring down the conservatorship. So in the text, Jamie Lynn reminds Britney of that. She also reiterates that she's never trusted him, and she also said that she felt like Sam also made mistakes in court. Jamie Lynn then also brought up their dad, Jamie Spears, and said that she spoke to him and that he does want to step down. She said over and over that Jamie just wanted to speak to Britney himself and make sure that she was speaking for herself and that her attorneys weren't trying to speak for her. In the text, Jamie goes on to reiterate that she has nothing to gain or lose in the situation, and that no matter what happens with the conservatorship, she is so sick of seeing things go in circles. In this text, Jamie Lynn also said that she was upset this whole thing has led to her not speaking to their mom, but she did so because she wanted Britney to know everything, and she wanted Britney to know that she's not being fed a line of BS, which later on in the interview, she did say that she did stop having a relationship with Lynn because she wanted Britney to know that she was being loyal to her. Back to the text message, Jamie Lynn says that she has no other reason to send Britney this information other than to be helpful and because she loves her. Now, you're probably asking yourself, why the hell has Jamie Lynn Spears never spoke out about this information? And in regards to that, Jamie Lynn said, quote, I never thought that I'd get grouped into this hatefulness because I knew that I'd always tried to help and stuff. So when I was thinking in my head, I'm never gonna have to speak up, I always did the right thing. Jamie Lynn also added that she was scared of legal ramifications if she ever was to speak out, adding, quote, to me, it was like, why would I have to say anything? She knows it, we know it. Now, moving on to another big takeaway in regards to Jamie Lynn and Britney Spears back and forth on social media and Britney not backing down from calling her out. This, of course, excludes yesterday's post because obviously this was filmed before Britney really went off on her Instagram, but Jamie Lynn discussed how the social media drama was starting to affect her kids because her kids were hearing things being whispered about at school. And of course, she says this triggered her back to when she was in middle school and people would be whispering things behind her back about Britney. So she says this whole social media back and forth thing has really riled her up. She has spoken about it to Britney. She said, please stop. It's starting to affect my children. But she claims that she feels like Britney doesn't care that it's affecting her. Now, moving on to two more really big quotes from Jamie Lynn Spears. After all of the drama and criticism she's received, especially over the past couple of days, she reiterated that she stands by her choice to speak out. In fact, she said, quote, there's two separate things here. There's the relationship I have with me and my sister, and then there's this other part where I have the right to defend my name and defend my family, to protect my family. Y'all don't know what the hell you're talking about. Here are the facts, and you want the truth, here's the truth. And then the separate side is that this is my sister who I know and who I love, and when every headline's gone away and everything else is done, I'm still gonna be her sister. It doesn't matter, and people need to stop inserting themselves into our situation and egging it on and encouraging it. Jamie Lynn, of course, also mentioned that she hopes one day her family can stop what they're doing and just go back to being a family. And of course, she also hopes that at some point her and Britney can go back to being sisters. Specifically, Jamie Lynn said, quote, you, as in all of us, all of the public, should be encouraging healing and wanting something to really be fixed here because it's very clear that there are people in pain in this situation. It's apparent that it's not a healthy thing for anyone, yet we're egging it on because we love this shit show. It has to stop because it's not funny. This is my life. These are people I love. And look what's happened to my family when all these people have inserted themselves. This one's got a lawyer. That one's got a lawyer. This one's got a friend. This one's got an agent. We need to separate it all and just be a family again, or else we're going to end up back where we started, and that's not what we want. All right, you guys, obviously I have some thoughts about what Jamie Lynn said during the second part of the Call Her Daddy interview. We are obviously not going to be shambonging because this is nothing to freaking celebrate, unfortunately. So instead, you know what we're going to do, we're going to hydrate and send our girl Britney some positive vibes because I'm sure she has an Instagram post coming after all of this. Okay, so here's the thing. I actually feel like that Zoom interview was the best part of this part 2 call her daddy interview situation because for the first time since I started covering Jamie Lynn, I actually felt like she was being somewhat honest, emphasis on the somewhat. I also feel like that Zoom follow-up interview gave Alex Cooper some time to really get herself together and really start asking some harder hitting questions. Because part 1, as I've said time and time again, was obviously not it. And honestly, a lot of part 2 really wasn't it either until we got to this Zoom interview. Although, come to think of it, well, yes, Alex Cooper did a little bit of a better job here. She still didn't really ask Jamie Lynn about her husband's involvement in the conservatorship, which is what I was really looking for because we have seen documents and there are things going around online that Jamie Lynn's husband was receiving money from the conservatorship and he had involvement. So I'm a little confused why Alex Cooper didn't ask about that. To me, that is something that I really would have wanted to know. Again, I just feel like in some instances, Alex Cooper did drop the ball here a little bit, and that's no shade to Alex Cooper. She has a $60 million Spotify deal. I do not have a $60 million Spotify deal, but I just feel like in this instance, when you are interviewing someone that the public has been dying to hear from and really has a lot of burning questions, it's your responsibility to really ask those questions, even though I know it can be tough. I know it's not easy. Again, so I'm not trying to shade Alex Cooper at all. I'm just saying we still didn't really get all the answers we needed. And in addition to that, I'm still just a little confused by Jamie Lynn Spears because I don't really understand why it took until this Zoom interview for her to come with receipts. I mean, Jamie Lynn literally just sat down with Good Morning America a freaking week ago and said, I know just about as much about this conservatorship today as I did when I was 17. Really? Because you were sending Britney text messages saying, your lawyer's not doing his job. I think your lawyer and mom are conspiring. I think that people aren't really having your best interest at heart. That to me does not sound like somebody who doesn't know what's happening in the conservatorship. That to me sounds like somebody who does know what's going on, knows what's going on is wrong, and knows that something needs to be done about it. So I'm a little confused why a week ago we were telling Good Morning America we really didn't know much about the conservatorship. I'm also confused why you never denied to Good Morning America that you were never a trustee on this trust. But yet, now that you're speaking to Call Her Daddy, you have a legal document showing that you never took the necessary steps to be a trustee. Like, I don't know, I'm just really struggling with why she's just deciding to share all of this now. Because if I can be completely honest, it really feels like Jamie Lynn Spears is sharing all of this now because she's sick of being dragged by the public, dragged even harder by her own sister, and the girl's trying to sell some books. I don't know, I just feel like Jamie Lynn Spears could have shared all of this information from the get-go. I understand that she was afraid of legal ramifications. So then at the very least, I feel like she could have shared this information when Sam Ingram was finally forced to step down. But I don't know. I just, for some reason, I'm having a really hard time understanding why she waited. It's just really hard for us to believe her when she says one thing one minute and says something different the next. Yes, I know during this Call Her Daddy interview, she brought receipts, which was very, very helpful. But again, all of the flip-flopping she does, it just makes it really hard for us to believe her. And you know, my favorite housewife of all time, Heather Dubrow, she's on OC. She has a famous saying where she said, if everyone is saying that you're dead, it's time to lie down. And to be honest, that's just really how I feel about Jamie Lynn. Like, this is all just a little too freaking late. The public has already made up its mind about you, whether that's right or whether it's wrong. At this point, the public has such a strong perception of what they think Jamie Lynn Spears is, and that's a liar, and that's somebody who didn't support their sister. Again, I know she brought some proof saying that she did, but that doesn't even matter at this point, unfortunately. I feel like the public has already made up their mind. I feel like they're not going to change it anytime soon. So what would be best for Jamie Lynn is for her to just take a step back. And you know, truthfully, hopefully one day maybe Jamie Lynn and Britney can find some common ground, because the one thing I definitely learned during this interview is that Jamie Spears and Lynn Spears are the absolute worst parents ever. I truly believe that at the end of the day, Jamie and Lynn Spears put their own interests and their own selfishness above their children. And that is absolutely wrong. And of course, no one will understand that better than Britney, Jamie Lynn Spears, and the brother. Which, hello, where's the brother? Would love to hear from him. But that's neither here nor there. Oh, you guys, and as far as where we go from here, I don't even freaking know. I really, really, really want to see Jamie Lynn Spears just not say anything publicly. I think if you really genuinely love your sister, you really put everything out, put all of your truth out during this interview, you should not feel the need to say anything else. You should feel the need to just be like, you know what? I said my piece. I put it out there. If people still want to hate me, let them hate me. Doesn't matter. And you know, as far as Britney, I hope that she can finally start to heal. all, it's gonna take a really freaking long time. I don't think she'll really be able to heal until her dad, Jamie, suffers some serious consequences, which I hope he does. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just think this whole situation is so sad, and unfortunately for Britney, especially because there's still a lot going on with her dad, it's far from over. Ugh, you guys, I don't even know. My upper lip sweat is insane. My face is so red because I get so passionate about this. It's just so crazy. But you guys, that's all I have for you. I'm sorry. I know this pop-off was a little all over the place. That's what happens when you get an off-the-cusp pop-off, but I definitely wanted to give you guys this information and let you know my thoughts about it. So I want to hear all of your thoughts and feels down below. While you guys are at it, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and don't forget that notification bell. For more content, make sure you guys follow me over on Instagram and TikTok. And of course, don't forget to keep coming back to my channel to check out my YouTube shorts. You guys can also find all of my merch at my merch store at houseofhill.com. And on that note, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.